As Rich said, a lot of what you're going to see here comes from one site, which we'll get into in a little bit. And when I was putting this together, I was scanning slides to do this talk in PowerPoint. The slides are dated 1988, so it's been a few years, 20, since this was actually done. So we'll get into this here. I have a little bit about Edrioasteroids in general, and more about the site and the stuff from that site. And just in case anybody has a problem, I don't think anybody in this room does, but there will be a little science involved in this besides our normal stuff. I couldn't avoid this. I mean, what talk can't benefit from a picture of a pretty woman and a child? You know? Okay, Edrioasteroids are echinoderms, and we all know what echinoderms are. These are 4 modern echinoderms, which I've borrowed literally from different sites. This is a stalked crinoid, so maybe somewhat similar, you might say, to what we find in the Cincinnatis, and these are modern ones. This is a feather star, a crinoid without a stalk, and the starfish and the seers. Of course, added to this, we have brittle stars and sea cucumbers. Couldn't get them all on screen, so that's what they look like today. And we all know that echinoderms are all built the same. They're all made from calcitic plates held together by tissue. And this is a SEM photomicrograph of what one of those plates on a living echinoderm looks like. They're not solid. You go out in the field and find them here. They're solid calcite plates. This stuff is called stereon. Interesting thing about these plates, even though they're porous like that, from a crystallographic standpoint, it's just like it's one crystal of calcite. All the little molecules are lined up just like a crystal of calcite. And when they fossilize, calcite fills in all those little holes. That's why the stuff we find here, they look like solid pieces. And when you find a broken piece of an echinoderm in Cincinnati, it's obvious that it's from an echinoderm because of that calcitic cleavage. All right, first little anatomy lesson here. You don't have to remember all this. Edrioasteroids, you saw in the first picture, they're round. They have a starfish shape on the top of them. The things that look like the arms of the starfish are actually called ambulacra, and that's the feeding mechanism of the Edrioasteroid. Other things I'll point out here, the ambulacra are actually made of a couple layers of plates. Here you have the cover plates and then a trough underneath. That's what's underneath these things here. So you got a double layer of plates. Around the outside, you got a peripheral rim, which is a whole bunch of plates stacked up. So there's a lot of mass in that area, and a lot of mass here where these are. And that's why when you find Edrioasteroids here, they're squashed flat. Those areas all stick up. The areas in the middle, the interambulacral plates, they're just a single layer, so they squash down to the bottom. Now, here we have something in this one called, this is a carniella, that's called a paraproct in this species. That's the anal structure. So that's how it gets rid of its waste. Another thing I'll point out here is this structure called a hydropore. It's kind of hard to tell what it is there. It's a little extra little hole, a little slit in the structure. All echinoderms use water. They've got a water vascular system. So they draw water in and they do different things. It's like a little plumbing system, hydraulic system, if you will. It runs the tube feet and starfish and crinoids and so forth, as it does here. In fact, if you've seen any pictures in the marine shows of starfish clamping onto a clam and pulling him apart, he's holding on with tube feet. That's what's holding on to that thing. It's not like the arms are curling around that thing. So, for the little first anatomy lesson, that'll take care of that. Now, Colin several did some studies and came up with some thecal shapes. Now, the Edrios that are here are not Cincinnati Edrios, but this domal thecal shape is particular to our Isoropus and Carniella, which are the 2 I'm going to talk about tonight, basically, along with Streptaster. What he's showing here in the side view, this is an Isoropus, will say, at rest, just sitting there doing nothing, minding his own business. When he wants to feed, or maybe he's excited, I don't know, he puffs up. And you see there's not a whole lot of difference here, but he has up a little bit, and he's puffed up with this water vascular system that pulls that water in. On the Streptaster, it's different. Here would be, say, a rest position, and when he wants to feed, he puffs up considerably higher. There are a lot more plates along the side of that particular Edrioasteroid than the other two. So, you probably, I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't do any of these drawings. These are all for people who actually know how to do stuff artistically. I do have a drawing in here, which I challenge you to find out which one it is. But I think you may know. Again, this is a carniella. This shows it feeding. And what happens, those little cover plates that we saw in the first one, they actually open up. 2 feet stick out, 2 feet catch little particles or whatever floating in the water, curl down into that trough, stick them in there. There's mucousy things ciliated, and that moves the food down this trough toward the center under these plates, which are called the oral plates. Those plates don't open up because the mouth is not that, it's under that. So if you were to look under this, there's another set of plates, an oral frame, which has an opening that goes into the guts. Another thing to note about Edrioasteroids, they are fossils or animals that attach to something. In this case, we're showing it attached to a Raphiscina. There is no calcite plates on the bottom of this Edrioasteroid, all the way across the bottom. It's open underneath there. The guts are there, there's kind of tissue there, but it's not calcite, like say a Lichenocrinid holdfast has a bottom calcite plate on it. These guys don't. So you've got the contact for the plates basically is a rim. And then whatever is under there, mysterious little guts and things, are in there. And again, you can see your little animal structure. Here we have a comparison of a nice drawing to a real fossil from the site that we'll talk about a little bit later. This is a carniella. One of the things that's distinctive about that makes it easier to identify from the Isoropus is those oral plates in there. There's 3 big ones. Here they are right there. Isoropus has a lot of small ones. And if you notice too, the ambulacral plates here, they look like a zipper to me. Very, very distinctive. They're kind of long. And we got Isoropus, again, a specimen from the site. Almost looks a little more delicate, the ambulacra do. Here, the animal structure is this, and here it is in the fossil. It's called an anal pyramid. The plates that make it are like little pie-shaped wedges. And it sticks up like a little cone almost. And my favorite's the Streptaster. And here, all those ambulacra curl around in one direction. For you evil left-handed persons, that's sinistral. The animal structure is here, and I've not seen it on any of the fossil specimens because either it's full of sediment or just covered up because of the ambulacral plates. Now, the plates on this, they're even longer, almost like poles looking compared to even the carniella, and they stick straight up. On some of the really nice specimens that I have, and I don't think you can tell in these slides necessarily, but on top of every one of those posts is a little cone-shaped spine. And some of the specimens I have actually still have some of those on them. So that's fossil versus drawing. Here I've got 3 Isoropus that are from the site. And I put they're in pseudo-life position. They're puffed up, as it were. And they're not, say they weren't feeding when they got buried, and that's why they're puffed up. This is probably due to decomposition of the guts inside, gases forming, blowing them up. And in this one you can see right here the anal structure has been blown out of the side of it. And then sediments have gone in and held them up in that position. So, but that would be kind of what they would look like if they were up in their little feeding position. This is a Streptaster, and he's kind of on the side of a shell. I really can't show that pure gauge structure very well here, but I hope you can appreciate the number of plates you see in here. All these plates, the ones that make up the theca for these, and on the sides, those they call those imbricate. They're like shingles. They're all shingled over each other, so they can move apart and slide back and forth. So they can't do this puffing up business. Now, if you're just wandering around looking for stuff, some of these are more likely what you might find, especially something like this. It's actually a fairly good fragment of probably a carniella on a Raphiscina. You get the rim plates, and this has some of the interambulacral plates on it. Sometimes all you get is the rim. sometimes only part of the rim. This is a specimen I believe is found on my good buddy Bill Heimrock up here. It's two very nice streptasters on a cephalopod.
Yeah, on the Caroline Road site.
Right. So that's an exceptional specimen. And this is a very small one. There's enough there you can tell it's an Edrioasteroid. It's maybe a little disarticulated, so you can't really see all the features. And it's also very small. These two here are from the Richmond